This is just a quick video that I hope will help anyone that's bought one of my Fluke 9010A memory accessory kits. If you watch these series of videos in which I developed a drop-in replacement for the cassette drive on a Fluke 9010A systems troubleshooter, then you'll recognise this. It was really a design to replace the inbuilt cassette deck, and it allows the use of memory cards. And I was debating as I went through the videos whether or not I was going to supply just the bare board or put together a kit of parts, and this video in some ways will explain why I'm always hesitant to go down the kit route. It always seems to open a can of worms, and I get inundated with requests for technical support, and I do try to make it clear that I cannot provide tech support for this. I don't have the time and resources to do that. I'm not running this as a business. This is not a company. So if you want the bells and whistles and custom support, etc., then don't buy from me. I can't provide that. I'm providing just the raw parts that I claim to provide. I do not claim to provide detailed tech support and backup for anything. I will try to help where I can, but I have limited time, and as I say, I don't make any claims that I'll be able to provide comprehensive support. So that said, I decided to make this video because I've had a couple of comments from people that have bought these kits, and they seem to have struggled to get the external memory card connector connected correctly. So this is just really by way of explanation how to go about this, and also why I haven't oversimplified the connection explanation. So to outline the issue, the memory card plugs into one of this type of socket, and when I provide the kit, I provide this 3D printed part, and the memory card then plugs into this socket, and this assembly sits in the top of the Fluke, and so the memory card can be fitted internally, and then the board is bolted to the underside of this. The problem seems to arise in the connections between this connector and this connector on the main board, and which way around should they be connected. Is it left pin to left pin, or right pin to right pin, left pin to right pin, that sort of thing? And the answer is I can't specify it like that. And the reason for that, so this is something really, if you're getting into product design, is something you do need to be careful with. These connectors, what I tend to do when I design a product like this, even though I'm not running a business, I still don't want to drive people down a blind alley and have them end up buying something they can't complete. So I tend to buy parts that are unusual from at least two different suppliers, and that's what I did here. So these two connectors are from batches that I purchased from two different suppliers, and if we look at the pins on the bottom, it's already fairly evident that these are not the same. So if we have the pins this way up along the top edge, if I flip them both over, you can see that the connections are, hopefully you can see that the connections are actually inverted on one. So on this one the connections are on the top, and on this one the connections are on the bottom. So if these were fitted to a moulding, bear in mind when I write the instructions, I don't know if the builder is going to be using one of these or something of their own. So I have to make the assumption that this could either be plugged in this way up, if it's this type of connector, or it could be plugged in this way up if it's this type of connector, which means that I've no way of knowing when I write the instructions whether pin 1 is going to be on the right or on the left. So that's why it doesn't say that in the instructions, because it could be misleading depending on the source of the connectors that you're buying. Okay, so, and you've got no real control over this. They both have exactly the same manufacturer's part number, so I don't even know why they're different. It is one of these strange things, and you do tend to find it now and again. So the way that I wrote the instructions is these connectors actually connect to this like that. So you could just solder it directly to the board. They are in the same order. But that's only if the connector is this way up. If you use the other connector, then of course it would be upside down unless you put it on the underside of the board. So the important thing to bear in mind is pin 1 goes to pin 1 on the memory card, not necessarily pin 1 of the connector. And to make that clear, what I've done in the instructions is included this diagram. So this diagram is in the instructions, and what it's basically saying is you take the memory card, and irrespective of which way up you place it, this pin, which is always going to be this pin, whether it's this way up or this way up, so this pin or this pin, it's the same pin, goes to connector 1, which is this connector, and it goes to the pin 1, the left hand connector. So these are shown exactly as the connector is laid out on the board. So we have pin 1, 2, 3, 4 and pin 5, as it says here, is not connected, and that's how you need to connect it. So you connect this pin to that pin, second pin to the second pin, third pin to the third pin, exactly as it's shown in here. It says here connector 1, that's connector 1, and then this picture is obviously the memory card, and it shows exactly which pin goes to which. So again, this pin, which is pin 1 on the board, shown on the left here, connector 1 goes to this pin on the memory card. So if you have a connector where the connections are this way up, then this is the pin that you need to connect to pin 1 on the board, obviously via a wire of some sort. And then it doesn't matter which way round you put the memory card, you can put it any way up as long as you keep track of which of the pins is that pin. And if you use the other type of connector, which of course would go on the other way up, then this is pin 1, and again it doesn't matter which way up you put the thing, it's pin 1 goes to pin 1 on the card. Okay, so I hope that made sense. As I say, this diagram is in the instructions that are supplied with the kits, and that you can also download from my website at JMPrecision. And hopefully that's clarified what this actually means and the way that these should be interconnected.